few moments, we will start.
Sorry about that. There was a bit of feedback. In a few moments, we will start the threat assessment soon enough. We'll just be waiting on some possible candidates to be properly organized, and we'll be prepared to move into the introductory phase of the program. Mind you, this is still a work in progress, so we are still working out the kinks as we go by. But we'll just get everybody in proper attendance and we will go from there. Do understand that there are some other things that we may have to work as far as presentation goes, so we went with a more simple and easy to understand format. After all, Delphinium is still a budding entity in the line of providing services for defending both the VTuber and human dimensions. However, we have to take into consideration the possibilities of further expanding into different territories. Duly noted. We will begin our exercises soon after we have acquired enough data in order to provide ample service and possible protection, if need be. This is not a recording as of yet. However, we will be making some gestures in order to kind of reach out to those that are currently watching the stream at the moment. This will be taken on as a straight up fact kind of presentation. So, forgive us if we're not directly responding to anything that's going on at the moment. Since we are beginning with the process, it's best that we go over the entirety of the new department that we have created in the process. Let's also have some music to just kind of set the mood here. Forgive me if I'm kind of lagging behind, but we have some things to go over. It may seem confusing at first, but we will get to that point eventually. Okay, now, without further ado, we shall begin with the introduction of the new department. We are now opening the Department of Assessing and Analyzing Tactics. Basically a data manufacturing and maintaining department. That means we gather as much information as possible to be disseminated through all facets of our department, of other areas that we'll be utilizing soon enough. That means it'll be given to tactics, it'll be given to machinery, and all sorts of different subjects that will be useful for providing the necessary means in order to protect others, as well as routing threats that may pose a possible threat to humanity or to all of mankind, or anything that scales appropriately. If we're going to be shortening the name, however, DAAT would be the proper way of pronouncing it. So, we'll begin the presentation here, and we'll be introducing not only the structure, the purpose, but also the subjects that will be going over for the threat assessment. We'll begin in 3, 2, 1. Okay, as we mentioned, but we need to go a little bit more in detail. The purpose of this assessment is an ongoing assessment to provide proper contingency protocols to suppress VTubers in the event that they decide to bring harm to all dimensions willingly or unwillingly. That includes berserking, mind control, sublimation, etc. DAAT exists to ensure that all the appropriate threat assessment is provided to other parties, including security organizations, militaries, and other associations, should these possibilities come true. In the event these entities are detained, we must ensure that if they are unwilling participants, they will be treated with the utmost care and surveillance put in place as preventive measures will be enacted. These measures will be cruelty-free and ideal for their well-being, both physical and mental, and even emotional if need be. As far as threat rankings go, we have the conventional standard: non-threatening, posable threat to society, danger to society, and danger to humanity. Non-threatening can be leveled somewhat, just so long as we can confirm that they pose no threat to any other human being or any form of life. They still have the ability to use self-defense, but they will not intentionally hurt anybody. As far as unconventional goes, danger to the galaxy, cosmic threat, those are more sizable measures that will have to be taken in order to suppress the individual. If it requires a large-scale fleet in order to suppress or even defeat, the resources will have to be taken into consideration, as well as different measures necessary in order to achieve that. And then we have abandon all hope. A dimensional terror is rare, at least with the subject material that we have at the moment. But there is still a possibility that in the event that we have to deal with dimensional terrors, there has to be all stops put away. But if the situation is absolutely hopeless, we might as well pray and hope for the best. But that doesn't mean we would be surrendering that easily. If we can reverse engineer or even possibly use a dimensional terror's capabilities to our advantage, such as breaking them down into possible materials or even using them as possible weapons, it can be doable in order to achieve a possible victory, although the probabilities are rather slim. To explain the different tiers: conventional, which involves physical weaponry, ballistics, melee weapons, etc., civilian security, or military intervention enacted to contain or eliminate the threat. That means tear gas or any kind of gas, stun materials, or anything that would possibly render the unit inoperable or incapacitated. Unconventional would involve energy weaponry, high-yield technology and engineering, magical or mana-infused methods. Those would be recommended in the case that a conventional weaponry is ineffective unless unconventional measures open up the opportunity to use conventional measures. After all, we have to consider the possibilities of higher-than-life beings that exist within possibility. If we ignore that chance, then we might be in more trouble than we think, and an improper assessment would lead to far more casualties than necessary. This is all to mitigate any possible casualties and properly assess the situation with the utmost accuracy and utmost tact. And abandon hope. The aforementioned measures were ineffective, but will rely on specialists with extraordinary set of skills in order to techniques, or resources to downsize and inevitably suppress the threat before imminent destruction of the dimension. The ideal measures of suppression or sealing would involve a vessel, vivisection, or conversion into a weapon or wardrobe. This is all following the protocol of L Corporation and using various other means of containment or suppression in order to do so. We'll be borrowing different methods in order to achieve such possibilities. And now we're moving on to the subjects. Subject 1, Riptide, a Martian space pirate. This position is intimidating, providing a lot of notoriety due to galactic federations. We have not obtained full information as far as the Galactic Federation's bounty on him. Oh, we have a incoming. We will be making some changes on the fly, but we will incorporate this into the information at hand. Time, we will provide refreshments and opportunities for everybody to get themselves comfortable. We will move on back to the subject once more information has been provided. We will work on contingencies after all the subjects have been introduced. So please bear with us and be patient with us. Thank you for your consideration. Moving on to the next subject until further notice. We have Okami, a possible shrine maiden, or we have no idea what kind of, or rather, we don't have an idea of an occupation, but we can properly break down these. Suppose this position is peaceful. Their capabilities include telekinetic knowledge transfer via espers, incorporeal and corporeal shifting, both herself and spirits or other living things, which is practically plane shifting to a degree. Expert elemental manipulation, so controlling of the elements at will, which will be tantamount to the various if we're going by the elements that are provided in Omio, the presence of light, dark, earth, wind, fire, metal, and water all come to mind. And dimensional manipulation. Judging by the information that was provided, they pose no threat to humanity. But we also have to consider the possibilities of making sure that doesn't go off to a very dangerous possibility. Their weaknesses include video games, possibly a slight addiction that has been introduced to them as their time spent in whatever world that they inhabit. Delicious foods and a special sealing incantation that has been passed down to different sects of, I would say, either exorcists or monks or something or other. However, Because the incantation hasn't been passed down to us, we have no idea how to possibly get that information on hand. So this leaves everything up in the air at the moment. On to the next subject. We have Chidori. Gyaru. We don't know what school she is a part of, so we have no idea how to properly do some surveillance. Very trendy and fashionable, but also rather oblivious too. We have to take into consideration that the smartphone that she uses may be a possible asset to access various methods and means to make her life much more convenient. As introduced, the powers included are weaponized density, which renders any and all mental attacks ineffective, and as the aforementioned, convenient smartphone access, which allows them to have access to anything at their disposal just by the press of a button. The terrors of modern reality. Okay. We have received information. We'll be making some adjustments at the moment for a previous subject. We will be doing so effective immediately. Please bear with us. Okay. Information has currently been updated, and also we'll be providing an extra. Thanks to the benefactor, our information has not been updated to properly give more assessment. And just give me a moment. Okay. Okay. We are now resuming the progress. Thank you for your patience. And hello to everybody that is currently tuning in at the moment. Okay. Thanks to the information that we received, we have now been confirmed by the Galactic Federation that Riptide has been tried for execution multiple times, which would label him with a very high bounty on his head. And to add on to the bounty, he has some of the most dangerous criminals aboard of his crew. This includes assassins, possibly launderers and robbers, maybe even those charged for MDKs too. The fact that he has them all in his crew can possibly lead to much greater threats further down the line, and if that's left unchecked, this would possibly raise the threat level to a very staggering degree. In the information provided, we have found that he has super speed, the ability to summon demons, which will have to invoke specialized S&T guidelines in order to properly compile an appropriate contingency. Time stopping, instant weapon mastery, thanks to quick uplinks through his cybernetics. Street smarts due to his possible upbringing, and thanks to possible benefactors behind the scenes that allowed him to get access to not only his ship, but also the cybernetics that allowed to give him the abilities that he has at the moment. This also includes mecha and heavy ordnance operation, possibly due to other factors that we have been... Yes, and shark DNA as well, which definitely factors into the powerful healing factor. And, above all else, they have access to angelic powers. How they have managed to obtain that is yet a mystery to unfold. But we will have to get that information properly squared away through other means. Weaknesses, however, include gravity magic, rusting, possibly due to ancient cybernetics, gene manipulation, so anything that possibly messes with those cybernetics, possibly through nanomachines or nanotechnology in general, can cause a lot of issues. Intense heat due to the shark DNA, and possible instability, possible mental or physical instability due to ancient DNA as well. We can move on. We have next subject, Lily Peony, the heavenly goddess of the ocean. This position is harmless, peaceful, and benevolent, as they also introduce themselves as posing no threat to humanity whatsoever. Their abilities include light manipulation and water manipulation, which allows them to be very capable in deep sea situations, as well as living on the sea surface or traversing through the sea in general. However, they are susceptible to toxic chemicals, mostly deadly medicine, injections, poisons, etc. The body type is able to be manipulated at any point in time, so they can rather expand or contrast or shrink at will, but this is possibly the better form for it to give off a more heavenly appearance. Next. We have another one with the shark DNA as well. Subject is Proxy XQ. Confident and experienced. Her powers include shark DNA as well, which includes enhanced muscle mass and can increase that muscle mass temporarily by 500%. And enhanced jaw strength too, allowing us to bite anything with enough force that can be relevant or relating to an actual shark, possibly great white DNA. This is also including, through their shark DNA, a heightened response to blood, as we can nickname Blood Frenzy. They're also a practitioner of the martial arts of Bashi Quan, which allows them for explosive contact. Hand-to-hand combat will be very dangerous, so this will also be put into consideration for the contingency. Their weapons include a high-frequency spear called the Megalodon, which contains catalyst crystals. that allow it to amplify the power output of the high-frequency sphere. Highest output is the purple one, though the energy can travel from the spear blade all the way to the tail blade at the end of the pole arm. And also, they have a rapid evening stun pistol. It's not shown, but the design can be very compact and can also yield a great amount of energy output too. The weakness, however, includes extreme exhaustion due to the bulk of properties of their abilities of expanding their muscle mass, and they're also susceptible to dehydration via physical activity or extreme heat. Okay, next subject. Ica sign. Forgive us if we're mispronouncing the name. Once we get the proper pronunciation of the names and other things for the subject, we will make proper adjustments as time goes on. They are a luck dragon. This mission is kind and just. Their powers include superhuman speed and strength, shape-shifting, which allows them to either transform into human appearance or a full dragon form. Though we'll have to research a bit more information on whether they can don a full human appearance, which means getting rid of the horns and whatnot. Though, I guess from visual, we can probably see that the hair can hide the horns rather easily, if they so choose to. And they also have access to something called gold dust, which allows their dragon breath to turn anything they touch, or anyone they touch, into gold upon contact. However, the effect is temporary. Their weaknesses include a very surprising amount of spool for their speed, their weakness to extreme heat or fire, and they are not exactly great with head-on fights with super strong adversaries. And above all else, they cannot use their gold dust for a long period of time, otherwise they will find themselves over a period of exhaustion. Next subject. Hoodlum crabs. A boxer by trade. An experienced boxer at that too. This mission is a confident one, as well as a showstopper. Due to their overwhelming boxing stamina and thanks to their technique, they're allowed to do amazing feats. This includes their boxing prowess as their capabilities, which makes them a very challenging asset in hand-to-hand fights. Enhanced muscle structure thanks to the inner workings of their bodies, and the crabshell armor, which is a hard exoskeleton, allowing their plating to be very resistant to blades. They also have heightened stamina due to their boxing training and their ability to traverse to underwater. And this also leads them to believe that we have... This also leads us to believe that they have very strong resistance to pressure, especially when factoring the monster form. While we're working on the other things in the meantime, we'll just move on to the final portions of the introduction later. Their monster form includes underwater traversal or breathing, sharp claws and pincer strength, which can practically cut anything in two if applied with enough pressure. and the blades on their arms, which can be sheathed, contain fatal toxins upon contact. No one will survive. In a sense, this does serve the same purpose as SCP. However, we are mostly doing this in the sense of precautionary measures. Their weaknesses include high heat and butter, possibly in that order. Though I wouldn't suggest eating something that has fatal toxins built into it unless if you have the skills of a proper sushi chef. If they've handled pufferfish before, I'm pretty sure that's... why are we even debating this? No one should be eating a humanoid. Are you? Try not to break character. Okay. I'm sorry. This is quite unprofessional of me, but we will keep going. We'll keep going. I would recommend that the audience would be very attentive to the presentation at the moment. Please refrain from making any jokes that would make the presenter break character. But if we're in for some words of professionalism, we're working on that as we speak. This is still a work in progress, and we will do whatever we can in order to increase that production and professionalism as we go on. After all, DAAT is a very new program in Delphinium, and we're doing our best in order to show our best foot forward. Next subject is Chimera. They're authoritative and shrewd, meaning they have access to various means due to their royalty and status of royalty as well. Their powers include planeswalking, which allows them to pass through dimensions of reality easily, summoning chimeras and dragonkin, transformation, magic manipulation, and enchantments for summons, which allows them to bolster the performance of their summons of chimeras and dragonkin, respectively. And their weapons include a halberd or carnix. An interesting weapon, I might add, too. It seemed like a horn. Their weaknesses include cold or freezing temperatures. They have minimal resistances and are prone to exhaustion. What minimal resistances may entail, we don't exactly know. However, we may surmise that they may have to do with physical or elemental resistances. So head-on fights may not be in their forte. Next subject. We have Beanyat, an eldritch abstract. The disposition is docile, but will be aggressive if those closest to them are harmed. We received a massive amount of information from them in regards to their powers. However, we can basically boil it down to the simplest. They are capable of causality manipulation due to their eldritch origin. And they are impervious to death, harm, or sealing, which will come into play relatively later. However, it seems like the greatest food is the best way in order to quell them. Next subject. We have a pirate captain by the name of Mr. J. The name of the monkey is unknown at the moment, but we will try to get the information on hand as soon as we can. It's too adorable. In any case, they are a very cheerful and shrewd individual, and their powers mostly include natural charisma, emotional intelligence, which allows them to be a proper negotiator under certain circumstances, sword skills, and captaineering of a ship. The capabilities and the identity of the crew is unknown at the moment, so we have no proper assessment for the crew. However, they are prone to a poor sense of direction, and their impulsiveness can probably get the best of them too. Probably having a second in command will help them with that possible impulsiveness, but we again have no idea who the members of the crew are. We have to do a bit more research as time goes on. Next subject is Elise Friskinko. They describe themselves as overconfident, but we can also slap on a happy-go-lucky disposition too. They are proficient in weaponry and martial arts, and they also have a temporary performance boost too due to their ability to bulk up. Also, to be frank, they also have their sheer persistence and cunning, which allow them to maneuver around certain situations with utmost finesse. However, their haughtiness and social awkwardness can possibly get in the way of properly negotiating out situations that might prove difficult, and a performance boost can lead to exhaustion or fainting after a certain amount of time. They're no good with head-on strikes with those stronger than her, so she'll have to use whatever her wits in her disposal in order to make do with the situation. And the last subject of the assessment, before we move on to the contingencies and ranking, will be Michael Block, an inventor whose disposition is a genius and a risk taker. Their powers include magic manipulation, gadgetry, resourcefulness, and the ability to use that resourcefulness for prep time, akin to Batman. However, the magic manipulation comes from the corruption that he's been afflicted with, and the ailment from corruption magic can lead to possible berserking, and it's not as physically strong as one suggests. Gadgets obviously are susceptible to damages, mostly through water or electromagnetic pulse, which means disabling him would be important. Disabling the gadgets first and foremost would be the best way in order to limit his combat potential. And above all else, again due to the corruption, the forbidden magical arts can backfire with minor to fatal results. We have now gone over all the subjects of the program. We will move on to Octava for the assessment in detail. Thank you for your time, and we will move on to the next portion momentarily. There are some last minute things we have to do in order to properly get this properly running, so please bear with us for the time being. Okay. All right. Can everybody see me? Everybody hear me? Okay, I guess we're gonna moving on to the next portion of the progress. I'm pretty sure those that have probably tuned in a little bit late might be caught up to speed, but as per the presentation, as presented by that one faceless individual that I have no idea who or how they got there, but the whole purpose of DAAT is to... You're doing the grades in? Okay. So, like how I kind of just try to keep a little bit in character there too. That's all improv, baby. That's all improv. It's a nice bit of practice for me too, because I like doing improv stuff. This whole entire thing is just an exercise in improv. But I digress. Maybe there's a lot more to the MECI. What's my true goal here? What's my objective? Does he know? You do way too much improv. Same. I do like full-on skits by myself. I do like different voices and all that jazz. Different characters. It just goes on and on. I mean, that's probably the hallmarks of an overthinker too, or someone who likes to think out loud. That has to be something that's very common for people like us. I'm just finding myself pacing around the house, coming up with so many different story ideas, but once I put it into paper, it just escapes my mind and just falls into the pavement. No way to salvage it unless if I just really put it to whatever I can as fast as possible. And sorry if it did seem like I was ignoring everybody. I just wanted to kind of maintain that character and just work along with it too. So, hello to everybody that tuned on for the stream. I apologize, but I want to kind of keep that element as contained as possible so it wouldn't kind of seep out. But goddamn it, you maybe break character after reading a world building. Exactly. I didn't even know there was like a whole phrase for that too. But yeah, that's pretty much how it is. Okay. So I still have the slides up, but I'm going to be adding different slides in between each and every one of them, so we can get to a proper honest to goodness ranking for each and every subject that's listed here. And I can definitely see for a fact there are quite a few broken ones here. Riptide is pretty much one. Riptide and Bean Yacht are just the prime examples of absolutely broken. Which also kind of makes it somewhat easy too. But I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna make it work. One way or another. Let me change the structure. And let me also get the rank up there too. And let me also change the music too. Well, what can I change it to exactly? Yeah, just give me a moment. I think I got an idea. I got an idea. There we are. So, let's properly get into the swing of things and go about it properly, okay? After all, we do need to come up with some contingency at the moment. So, in relation to Riptide, it's gonna be a bit tricky as far as what we can kind of eke out as far as defense goes. If we're looking back, we have the weaknesses of gravity magic, rusting, gene manipulation, intense heat, possible instability DNA, angel DNA. So, when you have a rogues gallery of the most wanted criminals on your ship, the last thing you want is a break in trust. Even the most powerful people tend to have a very shaky structure when it comes to holding on to such a wild card situation. So, let me put this up on stream. Okay. Head-on counts will be ill-advised due to overwhelming potential. And abilities to easily route or evade. Crew of highly dangerous along with a powerful ship It's safe to assume that the vetting process can be lax as long as they're dangerous enough. Because I'm trying to think. The world government in One Piece has a stranglehold over everything. Yet it's the pirates that are just shaking the balance of things, especially with Luffy at the helm of it. The One Piece! The One Piece is real! Okay. Danger to the Galaxy would definitely be it. Can we get much higher? So high. Oh, 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 oh man, that freaking meme is just hilarious to the point where it's just like the fact that the edits just make it that's the edits that just make it. MLS for copyright? Yeah, I should copyright that. Or I should be fearful of copyright. What's that grammatical thing where there's certain words that sound the same but are spelled differently? Homophones? That's a dangerous thing. Okay, so Danger to the Galaxy is definitely a thing for Riptide. Well, rather his crew. However, he can be a cosmic threat if left alone. And I'll say this here. I've definitely got myself, well, I exposed myself to the spoilers of One Piece at a certain point. So I know that Luffy is cracked. I know he's cracked. I will catch up. I promise you. I will catch up. But I have a really bad habit of looking ahead. But how he got there is the most important thing to me. I only know what he looks like now and what he has, but how he got that is pretty much unknown to me. So that's why I can just look at spoilers and not think anything of it. Oh, I didn't get smoked. I willingly put myself in that. I willingly took the foresight. Hey, welcome back. We just part of your contingency. Okay. All right. Contingency for Okami. And the Nemo. It's still kind of. You know what's even more insane? You know what's even more insane? The girl that cheated on Simon. Oh, well, there it goes. The girl that was with Simon initially was cheating on him with Dizzian. And in a very cruel state of affairs, Dizzian got cut before his physical body got destroyed by General Resources. So it's just back-to-back NTR. This is back-to-back NTR. No side was happy, but Simon had the dog in him. Simon had that dog in him in order to just create an AI capable enough to look through so many different possibilities where Dizzian is dead, and then he just sets it loose. That's just, I think he probably gives 50 Cent a run for his money in terms of how petty that was. How petty that revenge was, just to get Dizzian gone. Just that. Just that. For the contingency? Yep. To kill one guy in particular for smashing his girl. And the ironic thing is that Simon is voiced by Frieza. So yeah, it adds up. It adds up tremendously as far as how petty one person can be. You gotta love it. There will never be a game like Ace Combat 3. After playing it so much, there will never be a game quite like that. In terms of like, no, let me correct myself. Outside of Zero, there will never be an Ace Combat game quite as expansive like that. All right, Okami. Telekinetic knowledge transfer, incorporeal shifting, plane shifting, elemental manipulation, dimensional manipulation. Yep, you just read right. Okay, while posting no deliberate threat, we suggest attempting to nullify dimensional manipulation capabilities. Ah, that's interesting. If I get overwhelmed by the energy of house, I recommend something to knock me out if you want me well overwhelmed. So something to kind of like sedate you in that process. I see, I see. Yeah, we're just gonna have to send a Nico Robin type then. Someone who's really good at espionage. And go from there. Okay, while posing no deliberate threat, we suggested attempting to nullify dimensional manipulation. Jesus. Nullify dimensional manipulation capabilities to a non-usable state. I.e. If you kill me, okay, so it's exactly like Edeon. It is exactly like Edeon. If Edeon is destroyed, the entire universe ends. And that robot is just absolutely powerful too. It's an ancient killing machine. Like even in like Super Robot Wars, I think it was Alpha. Well, it was one of the Alpha games where Edeon is part of. If he ever dies, it's automatically game over. It's just plain and simple, game over. That's that. The world, universe, everything ends. I'm just only those that have actually submitted their entries. That way it's not like me just casually reaching out to someone, just making the judgment call myself. It has to be somewhat of a mutual kind of thing, because if I do something and no one really consents to it, it's just a bad look for me. So it has to be done this way, so there's some level of control and acceptance too, because the last thing I want is something to just get taken out in the wrong way and it just blows back in my face, and I won't probably do this ever again. Same thing with the in-character interview that I'm doing for next Saturday. It's all mutual. And that's how it should be, really. If I just casually reach out to say, hey, you're gonna be on my show, you interested? It's not gonna work out. Especially if, considering that the VTuber community is very, I wouldn't say insular, but the way that it is, you can't just be absolutely a new face and just casually reach out to someone that you have no connection with whatsoever. It's a facet of content creation. You have to really bridge a gap somewhere. You have to. Otherwise, it's just gonna seem a little bit awkward and you have nothing to bring to the table other than a complete amount of shame and regret. Sounds like a very lonely Friday afternoon when you think about it. As long as it's probably associated with most recent games, delicious food, shame and regret sounds like on a weekday. I guess we're being very adventurous then. Very, very adventurous. Special incantation for sealing. All right, and even that. a form of metal plating to deflect any mental attacks or attempt of ESP. Okay, use a form of metal plating to deflect any mental attacks or attempt at ESP to enact knock suggestion. Also implement wait. Elemental manipulation can, especially when she's a yeah, considering it's Eastern. Metals might not be a good idea because she can manipulate that too. Like we mentioned before, if we're going by Eastern elements, earth, wind, fire, metal. Yeah, earth, wind, fire, metal, water. So metal's not gonna be a good idea for a cage. But what would probably be maybe something synthetic that could also block. Yeah, as long as it's not elements of the earth. If we're basing by Eastern mystic, yeah. Yeah, 10. Yeah, 10 is like a very interesting kind of metal though, right? Like it's a very light metal. Okay, and I think the best way we can actually frame it for the ranking as she is now, she is not threatening. But in the case that she is berserk, or is in the event that she does try to harm anybody, she could possibly be a danger to the galaxy. Yeah, as it stands right now, she's rank D. So yeah, because she's not posing a threat to anybody. But the contingency is in the event. Sends more of a chemical reaction to metal. Oh. Okay. Yeah, that actually works. That also explains the tinfoil hat too. That also explains it. Yeah, it's right. Thank you for reminding me of chemistry and all the other things too. Geology. Would you believe me that I was actually thinking about taking geology as like a science, like an actual career science? That was the one thing I had on my mind when I was threat of VTubers. Well, I'm kind of assessing the threat level of VTubers as they are at the moment. So it's all in good fun, but also helps me with like a bit of improv too. That's why I'm kind of doing it the way I am right now. Kind of missed out the whole briefing and all the other stuff, but we're just getting to the fun stuff sooner or later. Yeah, essentially, VTubers are the threat here, but they could be the threat to humanity or to others. That's why I'm also making this particular assessment. This is all for the sake of protecting both the human world and VTuber world. Okay, we have Chidori. I hate to have to constantly change the layout every single time too, but it's necessary. How you been, Crosshair? How you been? Let's take a look back. Weaponized density, so that renders mental attacks ineffective. Convenient smartphone access. Weakness is slow thinking, especially towards puzzle and finer details. Obliviousness. So it would be as simple as giving Chidori a puzzle game. It would be as simple as that. However, we have to be thorough. And Chidori is probably the only Chidori and Jay are probably the only legitimate humans in the threat assessment here. Everybody else is either modified in some way or just humanoid. As in they are human presenting, but they're not exactly human in the sense of their physiological makeup. An unsolvable paradox? I mean, I think a Rubik's Cube might be the most effective thing here. And plus, you have to take away the smartphone too. Or just throw the Rubik's Cube against the wall. Just do that too, and you have like all the pieces together, so you can just put everything in just one nice little box. Due to trendy nature. Okay, flesh and blood human. Access to technology would prove dangerous if left unattended. Due to trendy nature, they can be caught up with an alarming amount of information at their disposal. However, if the information is made needlessly complex, it can render their ability to process it completely. Include lots of jargon akin to that of an academic paper. Also present various puzzles and logical fallacies to keep them preoccupied long enough for eventual detainment. There. That would do, right? That would do immensely. Because anybody can use a smartphone, but nobody knows a smartphone better than that. Nobody knows how dangerous a smartphone can be. Unless if Ichiban, where it can actually summon people from thin air just by a phone call. But the man uses a smartphone as a summoning tone. You can't mess with them at that point. You can't. You just can't. Ichiban is probably the only one that I can think of that has used a smartphone in such a weaponized way. And no, I'm not counting that in another world a smartphone. No, I'm not counting that. Nah. All right, let me Alright, contingency. Alright, subject, Lily Peony. Heavenly goddess of the ocean. Their abilities include light manipulation and water manipulation, so they can probably change. They can probably command high tides too, if they choose to. Also, they got some really long nails and a interesting tattoo too. It's hard to see because of the lighting, but if you look hard enough, she has a bunch of glyphs on her body, and you see an interesting glyph there too. How those glyphs interact with her entire surrounding is a mystery. And it also kind of begs the question too, and it's an observation that I had a while back. With so many VTubers having those particular tattoos, do they ever actually use it? Do they ever actually use those particular tattoos to its fullest potential, or to its intended design? Because I don't think I see much of that in proper form. No question saying that. I mean, unless they're like a succubus or something that doesn't contain that doesn't get contained into the bedroom anymore, or rather, it probably does, but it also depends on who is on the receiving end of it too. Okay. Heavenly presence can allude to proper healing and heavenly presence can allude to proper healing and restorative capabilities in their environment. As the physiology is based on sea slugs, their ability to restore is immense and obtain nutrients just as effectively. Using anything that obstructs the light. Because are sea slugs actually photosynthetic too? Or do they just respond to light in a different way? Hold up. Let me think. Some sea slugs do, some do. Okay. Okay, so yeah, in her sense, she's probably photosynthetic. There are many cruelty-free options available if detainment is recommended. So rank D. Alright, now next up is proxy askew. Let's take a look back. Shark DNA can increase that. Megalodon, Bashikwan. The thing about Bashikwan is, while it is a very explosive martial art, you have to compartmentalize your breathing as much as you can. You have to invoke that less is more mentality in your head every single movement that you make. So while you want to be tempted to do a Tetsuzanko, you would much rather go for like less resistance based attacks, like a lunging arrow or something that allows you to transfer momentum a lot easier with elbow strikes or long punches. Nothing that makes you speed through your stamina too fast. So you're probably the kind of person that would throw those 3 guys towards SCP-73. Who's this? This is Proxy Skit. My man. They throw whole blocks at 173. It's interesting how there's a fun thing about 173. Apparently that was an actual statue by an artist that probably forgot that existed up until a certain point. Once he started seeing it being popularized by SCP, they had to redesign 173. But I'm just surprised it went on that long without him knowing. Of course you would, Grim. After seeing that, of course you would. That's why you should join. Join with your whole heart. It's not like I'm coercing you or anything. Yep, and it's the thing about it too. If you're mute, there's always like text to speech options too. There's even like someone, I think Kroneko, that mainly uses like a special program that creates like little speech bubbles whenever they type something in. So they don't have to say a word. And it's amazing. The wonderful thing about VTubing now is that there are plenty of resources at your disposal, whether you want to speak or not, whether you have any kind of disabilities or not, that will help you get a proper footing. That's the beauty of it. A lot more things have become more and more accessible. You just gotta know where to exactly look. Okay, moving on. Subject fields. Alright. Melee combat. And CQB potential. I'm constantly misspelling capabilities. I'm glad there's an automatic an autocorrect. Dragon there. So you probably have like a whole buddy thing going then, right? But I know that there's like some people that have done like buddy concepts too, but I don't see much of it either. Where it's just two people in different models. Oh, okay. Now that's just gonna be mostly limited to lore, or you're actually gonna have like the mobile suit then and there? You have like a small cockpit view too. Yeah, I mean, these are things to kind of think about now that's out into existence. Hey, Denso, what's up? We're just doing some contingency plans for the... Okay. I'm probably gonna get some water, so I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I'm back. Got some water. It's a long acceptance to the hydrate redeem. He talks to himself a lot. Yeah, that can definitely do it. That can definitely help there. That could definitely help there. Hey, Krim, I saw what I saw you typed. I clicked on spoiler text too, huh? Again, as long as I don't know how he got to that point, I'm safe. As long as I don't know how. Like the particular moment where he gets it is probably that. I like it. That's the thing. Sometimes I like looking at the end of a book in order to know where things are gonna go. But I have no idea how it's gonna even get to that point. Granted, there was probably one or two things where I probably had some lingering interest in, like a Wonder Egg priority, and how the anime fumbled the bag so hard that it just wasn't even worth watching anymore. Like I heard so much about I heard so many great things, and even saw how beautiful it looked, and then absolute radio silence midway. I barely heard anything after that. Lo and behold, I come across a video that talks about Wonder Egg priority, and now that I know what happened, it's just a damn shame. It is an absolute shame. We're no strangers to love. You know the rules, and so do I. A full commitment's what I'm looking for. You would get this from any other guy. I would like to know, tell me how you're feeling, so we can understand. Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down. At this point, I'm invoking the energy of Sonic. No amount of copyright law is gonna stop me. No amount of copyright law is gonna stop me unless it really does, because I'm probably gonna upload the YouTube and just get it. Ah, you are singing something for far too long. Time for you to get got. You snitch. Okay, let's stop fooling around a little bit here. We have some important things to take care of. I got clipped. Yes, more clips. Feed me. Feed me more. So I can put it onto YouTube and try to make it into shorts and fail at it miserably. Because now everybody gets rickrolled by me. I'm sorry, Rick. Let me put it back. Utilize. Utilize incendiary weapons. That's for the weapons. That's what the weapon she wields. If it's a high frequency weapon, it's already going to utilize an electric charge. It just enhances the vibration of the blades too. But if it gets overcharged, maybe that might kill the battery cell within it. Especially the catalyst crystals that's in the spear. I don't know if it's a bioelectric response or something else. That's the main thing. But the stun pistol may be shorted out if he presents enough charge. Or rather, you don't need to use an electric charge. Maybe you need radiation, like a microwave. Yeah. Using a microwave array would be ideal to. Yeah, that's why I had to really kind of think for a moment, because if you use an EMP, that's just kind of somewhat overcharging the high frequency blade, but it's never going to really short it out unless if it's presented at a very high charge. But EMP's alright. Well, shows how stupid I am. Or rather, how I haven't really put much thought into it. Because it is an FM reaction, right? Yeah. Or is it RF? Okay. With all the capabilities that she has, she could practically be a wrecking ball in society. Just really shake things up. But I can't exactly see whether she'd be a danger to humanity, though. Like, how did the whole thing with One Punch Man go? There's Tiger. Or wait, you know, why ask myself that when I could just look it up? Tiger God, dragon, and something else. Wolf, tiger, demon, dragon, and god. So if we're thinking One Punch Man, she'd be a tiger. Like Sea King was relatively a tiger too, right? Or was he a demon? Oh. Yeah, he was, I think he was a demon. Yeah, Deep Sea King was a demon. I think he was on his way to become a dragon at some point before Saitama came into the picture. So if we're looking at proxy in ranking, Danger to Humanity might be the most appropriate one because her ability to bulk up her performance and muscle mass. So that means she could have increased speed, strength, and probably physical resistance too. But it's only for a certain amount of time before she tires out. Yeah, I think she might be a shoo-in for a rank A. God forbid it's a rainy day that she decides to start her attack on, because that would be near limitless potential. Near limitless potential. Okay. Superhuman speed, strength, shape-shifting, can transform, appearance, full or not. The gold does contain anything in the gold. Needs to really amp up for speed. Extreme heat or fire. I think it might be because of the gold. That's why she's susceptible to heat and fire. It's just like Cove Tower from Monster Hunter World. A dragon of practically gold seeping out of them. The last thing I want is either heat or electricity running through their veins. Because gold is very malleable and conductive metal too. I'm gonna get yeah, that one. And the one that I think is also, was it a limited boss too? Like there was a certain point in time where, yeah, I think there's even a Genjika of Cove Tower. No, well, there's a Genjika of almost every monster in Monster Hunter, so that's kind of fair game. And I think they also made Cove Tower the Ojo-san of the bunch too, in terms of like the Genjikas. Because she's just practically dripping in gold. She got that drip. All gold, everything. Possible link to the golden physiology. Yep. As long as it doesn't make its way to fur affinity, which might happen in no time flat if they actually look hard enough, I think it might be safe. But God forbid, if someone reaches out to you to make more scalies and your bank account suddenly gets very, very high in money, I think that might be cause for concern somewhere. Because furries and scalies seem to be seem to have a very insane amount of disposable income. Tremendously weakened ability to mitigate damage directly. Small possibility or rather, not a small possibility, it's a likely possibility. I like the possibility of I guess she would probably be a rank, maybe rank C. Yeah, rank C. That probably makes sense. All right, little crabs. Crab out of shell allows for proper defensive and offensive capabilities later onto his combat knowledge. The same way. I can recommend using armor piercing. Rank B. Like, since it could probably transform into the monster form at will, but mostly underwater, I think that's probably appropriate. I think that's appropriate. Still don't know why Butter's included in the whole thing. I mean, I get he's a crab, but he's also a crab man. I mean, who would want to eat a crab man? Well, yeah. Now that I remember, Saitama did turn that one lobster dude into dinner, so yeah. Well, then again, The lobster man wasn't completely human either, now that I think about it. Chimera. I would assume that considering the halberd and carnix, I think those are Gaelic weapons, or something of Irish origin. Yeah, it is. The ancient carnix was a wind instrument from the Iron Age Celts, used between 200 BC and 200 AD. It was a type of bronze trumpet with an elongated S shape, held so that the long, straight central portion was vertical and short, and the short mouthpiece end section and the wider bell were horizontal in the opposite directions. The bell was styled in the shape of an open-mouthed boar or other animal's head. It was used in warfare, probably to incite troops to battle and intimidate opponents. As Polybius recounts, the instrument's significant height allowed it to be heard over heads of the participants in battles and ceremonies. Yeah, effectively, it could also probably be used as a hammer too. Celtic. But if that's the case, how can it be weak to freezing cold temperatures? Unless, well, I think the winters were pretty harsh, so I guess in factoring that might help. Weapons used are last resort. Thanks to the carnix, which is likely enchant. Enchant the special properties. The power of the familiars can be increased thanks to the carnix. destroying the current limit the combat potential of said familiars. I think I'm on the right track here. So destroying the current limit the combat potential of said familiars significantly. Not known if familiars share the same weaknesses as the hosts, but assume the opposite due to the patchwork nature of chimeras. Because usually chimeras are a cross of like a lion, no, that's a manticore. Well, chimeras can be practically anything. But if we're thinking in Gaelic sense or Celtic sense, it would definitely involve a lion, though. Manticores are coming, yeah. But I'm thinking of like, what particular chimera from the Celtic mythos would be. And that's the thing, there can be so many possibilities because chimeras are just like a mix of so many different creatures. So the possibilities are relatively endless. Lion, goat, and snake. Okay. Yeah. Minimal resistances, prone to exhaustion. He could possibly be a danger to society. Because having access to Dragonkin and Chimeras is already potent enough. And you don't know what kind of abilities they have either because it's a mixed bag. That said, he relies solely on those familiars. He's just like V from Devil May Cry 5. Because him on his own, he's relatively frail. And that means he'll fight the hardest too, knowing that weakness. So he has a lot of power in tow. Okay, next up is DAAT. The laws of reality do not apply to the subject. As long as no one close to him is hurt, he will not pose a threat. However, if unattended during a rampage, the laws of causality could be harmed to the point of cannot die, be harmed, or sealed. Best way to subdue is there's a best way in order to actually handle these kind of things, but it's gonna be very tough to pull off. If something cannot be killed, harmed, or sealed, the only thing that could be left on the table is transformed. You just have to do something that is well beyond what reality can muster. And that It is essentially lobotomy corporation. The best way in order to handle that is just really maintain them. It's just maintain them. Because if something is practically a manifestation of one's mind, especially a concept such as vignette, the best way to really handle it is just treat it like part of a mind. Compartmentalize and just extract as much as you can. Because it's just limitless energy. Alright, but this is a rank X. Yeah, it's a living concept. He's an eldritch abstract. But instead of absolutely getting rid of him, we're just gonna use him as a means of extracting energy. But if it does come down to it, okay, let's pull second warning. Erase the concept via mass. Oh, that's true, that's true. That does make sense. Because for the old gods to function, they have to have someone that knows they exist. Whether it's through literature or just word of mouth. All it takes is perception. And if there's no one that knows it exists, there's no effect on them. That's why sedatives have really been a powerful thing. Sedatives would be a very powerful tool in preventing these kind of things from happening in the first place. Oh boy, Niji-Sanji is making vague tweets again. That means a new generation is coming probably before the end of the year or in the cusp of the new year. If Luna was the moon, then the sun is Sola? Soleus? All right. Yep, Niji-Sanji is practically teasing another wave. Niji-Sanji is teasing yet another wave. It's been a while too since we've had another wave to begin with. Like, if we go from Lazulite to Obsidia to Etheria, there was a very small gap in between each of those periods. And once we got Luxium, there was a small gap in between there, but I think it was a very sizable amount, or rather a very small gap, maybe 1 or 2 months. But now once we reach Noctix and Illuna, the gap is very noticeable, maybe 2-3 months. Okay. How much is known about his crew? Or how much is known about the crew, or the percent of the crew in general? How much is known about his crew or potential of the crew in general? However, if he's currently on sail on his own without a second in command to reel him in, he can use means of coercion to enact methods of subjugation. Whether or not they pose a threat is not yet made clear. But in the event that they do turn towards harming others, he'll deal swiftly. Threats to society at most. That's usually the case for pirates. I got it. Oh my god, run away. Oh, I gotta post it in the fan art chat. I just gotta wait until he's actually done. Somebody I commissioned him recently, and it's involving me and my one of my OCs, Noah. Nothing screams "Welcome to the Backstreets" quite like that image and that I commissioned. All right. Noah sounds familiar. Yes, it's one of my. She is a character in my story. She is also a Kunoichi too. A very, for lack of better words, ballistic kind of character. She is part and parcel of a wild card in so many respects. She's foul-mouthed, she's ill-tempered. She is a sexual dynamo. And a bisexual tornado on top of that too. Like, she may be shorter than Otsdarva canonically, and older too, around like 27. But the nanomachines that she has inside her body are such a high grade that there's barely anything that could really stop her outside of a few things. Like, if you look in the fan art or Delphinium chapters, I think it's fan art. or story discussion. Yeah, story discussion. If you look there, that's pretty much where you can see what Noah looks like. What she wears, she has like a jacket, a sleeveless yellow top. It has some biker shorts too, and also has some glasses and a rosary around her neck. You'll see in the story discussions channel. But she also has a ninja outfit too. Noah Genus. Genus. Not to be no relation to Maximilian Genus from Across. Speaking of which, I really need to kind of get back to work on my story too. I've kind of been falling behind on that. I haven't even finished chapter 10. I haven't even started on chapter 10. Because chapter 9, what I have so far is such a large thing. Because it's a revelation of something. And would you believe me that I don't really game plan these stories either? I just write it out. I just simply write it out and just kind of match the flow as much as I can. There might be some areas where it may feel a little bit weird in reading it, but since my stories are practically heavily dialogue focused, I try to make some sort of leeway so it's easier to read with the voices in their head. It practically reads out like a script. Or a visual novel, if anything. Or maybe a light novel, if that makes a bit of sense, even though it's just primarily dialogue. I think I found my sweet spot when it comes to writing it, as compared to when I first started out. Audience can easily make them reveal the ace of. Can easily make them reveal the ace. The fight seems big enough on the surface. Wait a minute. Yeah. Head-on fights. Rank. Let's see. Okay, let me take a look. Oop. Ooh. That's an interesting head design too. That is an actual and an arm shield? Is that supposed to be like some sort of gun blade as well? Hey, now I'm interested. Mm-hmm. It's a buckler with a saw. Wow. Yeah, I forgot about that bit. Yeah, she is bloodthirsty. She is. All right, and now we have Michael Block. Yeah, you may want to write that down as quick as possible before it just escapes. So self-destruction or okay, now when he's factored into the corruption magic, I think for the best, considering that he can go berserk from it and that he tries everything in his power to not let it seep out, he may actually be a danger to humanity if left unchecked. Okay, so all right. Now, we are going to go back, and I'll have the presenter take over. So, I'll see you when I see you. The stream is not over yet. Let's just keep it that way. Okay, I think we're all in agreement here. We do have all the information on hand, however, things are susceptible to changing over time. The more that we have implemented these measures in the proper structure, the better organized we can be in emulating those if the time requires it. Let's just hope that we never have to use it on anybody else. Let's just hope that it never gets to that point. So, what do you think? You think there's actually someone that we should be worried about, or? Because I'm not entirely certain that, well, there is one in particular that we have to keep a close eye on. I was hoping that we wouldn't have to deal with any kind of eldritch abominations, but certainly we might have an option to remedy that, right? We have taken proper consideration in that, but that doesn't really escape the possibility of something going wrong. After all, abandon all hope is practically a doomsday situation itself. And unfortunately, if we slip up even once, it's pretty much over for all of us. But I do have a belief that we can actually accomplish all the means we have at our disposal, even with the minimal resources that we have. We just need to find people that are capable of doing so. So, let's just put things onto proper structure, shall we? So, for starters, it is important that we take into consideration the danger that being up possesses. There is particularly one thing that we have to be mindful of, though. Considering that he is capable of causality manipulation, and also the fact that he's a construct, dealing with anything that is eldritch in nature is already peering into X territory. And that could pose a very large threat to all life in the universe. But as long as we find a way in order to cut off any source of power that it can feed off of, or just to keep it docile, we can maintain a level of control. We're just fortunate that it doesn't even bother turning its attention to us humans in a very negative light. But if it uses its powers willy-nilly and causes all kinds of chaos, there's not much we could do in order to mitigate the damage. Also, if we have some contained spaces that allow us to properly attack the situation appropriately. So, that's our X case, huh? But I've also heard about something about a rogue gallery? A band of space pirates led by someone with very high capabilities. Time-stopping. Even summoning, too. It seems a little far-fetched if you think about it, but if we can manage to subdue them in some way, espionage may be the possible way of getting close to them. When you have a band of pirates, it's simply who can flip the fastest. And it's simple. If you have a band of misfits and they're hurting for something, you're gonna look for it. As much as it pains the leader themselves. Realistically, the most wanted criminals don't exactly owe Riptide anything. Even if he did provide a shelter for them. If we could get at least one of them to turn or mutiny, it should fall like dominoes. And due to the information I received from the Galactic Federation, it seems that killing him would be an ill-advised thing to do. Apparently, something in his DNA allows him to contain a tremendous amount of energy, and if the energy is released onto the universe, all life would cease to exist. So that leaves a powder keg behind an entirely massive warship at its disposal. You can't exactly ignore that. But the Galactic Federation and the Earth Federation will do whatever it takes in order to mitigate whatever possible damages that are coming from it, especially in societies that have been affected by their rampage. Okay. So do we have anything that's a bit more sizable? Like something that could easily be contained? There are some examples here and there, but I'm not exactly confident in what we can do in order to mitigate that progress too. So far, we have a few candidates within the A tier. This could, and let me just move things to the side so it's easier to manage. We have seemingly a bounty hunter by the name of Proxy. Shark DNA allows her to access very superhuman feats, mainly to increase the muscle mass by an insane degree. That means bullets could probably bounce right off her. So we have to use other methods like energy weapons or something in order to at least dissociate her in the process. But we have to be kind of grateful that she's working and keeping the bad guys in check. Can't afford any kind of mishaps though. There's also someone who has been inflicted with the misfortune of corruption magic. A genius scientist by the name of Michael Block. His expertise in gadgetry and technology, as well as the magic arts, have always been something to behold by his standards. However, Something as dangerous as what he tapped into cannot be ignored. And we'll have to commit to proper surveillance if need be. Watch his every move. Because in the moment that he does become berserk, we want to minimize as many casualties as possible. Even if it means complete and utter annihilation, if necessary. But if that's not doable, we're just gonna have to make sure that we have to take the appropriate actions in sealing him away, or at least the magic that's contained within him. But if we can work with him into suppressing that, or even removing it from a system, that might be working in our favor instead. This leaves us to Chimera. He is royalty, yes, and does have access to pretty interesting familiars at his disposal, especially the Chimeras and Dragonkin. The Carnex is probably enchanted with special kinds of runes in order to allow him to provide any kind of support to his familiars. This in tow leads us to believe that while he is not exactly a head-on fighter, he is intelligent enough in order to maintain a proper force between his familiars and possible armies along by his side. He's one that doesn't really see a whole lot of action, but if need be, he will take to the front with those beasts in hand. But the frailty is due to the cold environments that he inhabits, and his constitution, to say the least, aren't exactly in a favorable condition. If we take down his familiars, or even pull away his familiars away from a safe distance, he is just as vulnerable as anybody else. And we also have hoodlum crabs. On his own in his humanoid form, he is capable of delivering a very nasty series of punches thanks to his exoskeleton. The crab shell armor that he has allows him to bounce off even the heaviest of hits. But with enough blunt force or penetrative power, that could crack through that shell with no problem. When we get to his monster form, however, that could be a different story if we're not careful. He yields much greater combat potential in that monster form, especially underwater, so we have to maintain our formations properly if we're ever in that kind of situation. Probably using depth charges or means of applying direct heat over his shell would probably cook him in the inside out. This leaves us with Aika. She probably prefers using mechanical weaponry instead, considering that the many weaknesses include the gold dust in her system that makes her susceptible to heat and electricity. It doesn't give her much of an advantage in head-on fights either. We don't know if the full dragon form actually translate those weaknesses as well, maybe with less effect. But if need be, that does seem to be the case, and suppression should be rather easy. I still feel that she would be a valuable asset to the team with her mechanical piloting skills. We just hope that nothing turns her into an enemy. This also leaves Elise. Elise was Kinko. Her capabilities are also matched up with the ability to increase her performance. Mainly physical performance that allows her to enact super strength and speed. However, maybe at a lower grade since she can't exactly deal with anybody that's physically stronger than her. So that relies on her wits and cunning in order to take down even strongest of foes. But if a head-on fight is inevitable, that might be a proper way in order to apprehend. Mr. J. Not much is known about him or his crew outside of the fact that he is a very good negotiator. His emotional intelligence definitely makes him a much easier person to tag along with, and his crew may grow in numbers. But if he does pose a threat at any point in time, we can enact some form of coercion in order to make him lower his guard a little bit. And even hijack the crew. Even though D tier is practically non-threatening, we can't exactly escape the possibility of something happening in the event that they go berserk. But these are least likely for that to happen. But the contingency has been made. And with Okami, considering the fact that she has access to Esper abilities, elemental manipulation, dimensional boundaries shifting, the best way in order to approach the situation would be to possibly seal her. One moment, please. Is everything all right? You good, Say? Did something happen? Oh. Wait, are you also using a voice mod? Or is it like a different kind of program? Because I'm using that currently. Because when you first install voice mod, it does kind of correct itself after a while. Because it did kind of startle me too. Yeah, that's exactly what happens. Like everything just starts pittering out. But after a while, it does get better. But it will make you panic though. It happened with me too when I first installed it. Oh, voice mod. Because it adds its own kind of audio software, its audio drivers too. So it interfaces whatever kind of devices that you're using to interface with the software. So, whenever I speak like this, that's me using voice mod to let my mic pick up my voice so it can transform the voice that way with the effects that they have. Plus, I also got a discounted permanent license too, so I gotta fun with that. Now, back to the presentation. Back to the presentation. Considering that the elemental manipulation may be based on the Eastern standard of elements, where it invokes earth, wind, fire, water, and metal. The best possible way to contain would not only have access to the incantation that would be necessary to seal, but also provide synthetic situations or synthetic settings that would not only block off any kind of mind control or mind warping capabilities, any psychic attacks, but also have mystic bindings that would seal off any kind of elemental manipulation at the touch or by simple control of the mind. We have Jadori. It's practically regular flesh and blood human. Not entirely the strongest in terms of mind games and puzzles, so subduing her would be relatively easy. But pulling her away from the smartphone would probably be the most wise decision to make too. Having readily available access to information is already dangerous enough, but conflating information with such jargon and inexplicably difficult concepts and terms would make enough of a smart enough smokescreen in order to keep her from accessing that information in a digestible manner. And we have Lily, a heavenly goddess, the least likely to turn, but in the case that things do happen, we would recommend using means to cut off any kind of light support. Probably due to the flower on her eye, she has photosynthetic capabilities in order to retain that power and control the water at whim. But it feels like even using chemical weapons would be a bit inhumane and cause collateral damage. We want to minimize as much as possible in terms of that, even for wildlife. It's a necessary evil if we have to consider the safety of all people and all walks of life. We must do whatever it takes in order to do the inevitable and the unthinkable. As long as those days never come, I'm sure we can have some sort of peace. And let's hope that we never have to use these contingencies at any point in time in our lives. There are enemies that are right in front of us too, and they're the bigger focus. But we don't need to have any needless bloodshed for any human or VTuber. But if push comes to shove, we must do what we can. We must do whatever we can. So, that's that. Kinda leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. But if If that's what needs to be done, and so be it. And somebody will understand soon enough, our Starver. Whenever you're ready, be ready for the worst. But always keep the best in mind and heart. And that's what DAAT's here for. When the tough decisions are here, you have something ready. But I doubt we'll talk at any point in time soon. But I'm pretty sure we'll meet again. Maybe on different terms. Different terms, he says. What a little shit. And that's that. That is the threat assessment. Done. And see how I kind of wrapped it up as like a little story thing too? A nice little side story. See, this is why I'm doing it. Improv helps. It helps so much. And I've had so much fun doing it too. I do want to thank everybody that submitted themselves for the project. I really do. It was so much fun to do, man. If I could actually do a round 2 of this would also be pretty nice. I'll still maintain that same kind of structure of like having that presentation style. But on top of that, I think having the music kind of do the set dressing is important. So let me see if we can... All right, that thing's broken. It's not really working at the moment, so I'm gonna have to... make something work of it. There we are. Alright, so I'm gonna end the stream here. It is currently 12:03 in the morning, and I did go to sleep pretty late last night too, like around 4, so. But yeah, I'm done the stream. Thanks everybody for watching, for sticking on by. Hope you had a wonderful time with everything else. I'm gonna see who I can send y'all to, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and take care. I'm gonna send you to Kamaniki since she's doing some art. She's mostly working on a art book for Comic Kit, which is all Nia. Also have the schedule ready too. We're gonna be moving on to rotation B, so it's gonna be Tuesdays and Thursdays. And here's the rate message. I definitely gotta do more of these. I did kind of fumble up in like the scripting of how I want to kind of say it, certain things here and there, but it does help. Just kind of coming up with the off rip.